Hello and welcome to the course. My name is Jason Moyer. I will be your instructor, and this is Gaston College's Bio 161 course, an introduction to human biology. And even though the title is Human Biology for the course, this is really an introduction into human anatomy and physiology. Now we will cover an awful lot of material in a very short amount of time for the summer session, so it is important that you keep up to date with the information that we cover. So in this introductory video, we'll go over some basic information about the course, about Blackboard, about some software that you need, and in general how the course will be organized. So let's go ahead and we'll begin. Okay, first we'll start off with logging into Blackboard. Being able to access Blackboard and being able to access another online site, the Mastering A&P section, is critical because this is an online course. So if you don't have a reliable internet connection or a consistent connection that's available, then you're going to have some serious problems with a class like this. So when you first log into the course, this is what you would see. Now keep in mind, because I am the instructor, mine will look a little bit different than yours, but in general you'll get an idea of how everything is laid out. The first page that you'll see when you log into this class will be the announcements page. Now, as of right now, there are no announcements yet. I will be putting a welcome message that I will email out to everyone. And all the announcements for the class will be kept here, and they'll be kept in chronological order. So the second announcement I put will be put here, and then the announcements before that will be pushed down. So every announcement will be able to be found here if you scroll all the way down. And since this is an online course, I would make a point to check the announcements page, check Blackboard on a regular basis, because there are some announcements that I will have to make throughout the semester about when certain projects are due, when certain exams will be held, when certain deadlines are approaching. So make it a point to check this Blackboard page often, and also your student email address. Gaston College prefers you to use your student-issued email address, so not your personal one. So not Gmail or not a Yahoo address, but your Gaston College official student email. That's where all information from the school is sent. So if you are not sure what yours is or how to log into it, please contact Tech Services. All the links that you need will be here on the left. And we'll start with our first one, course information. Now when you click here, you'll see a variety of different things. You'll see the course syllabus, which we'll go over here in a second, the course schedule, grading policy, participation policy, some helpful material about mastering A&P, some software that you have to be able to use. We'll start off with talking about the syllabus. We'll go over some of the key points of the syllabus here in this video, but I would take the time to read over the syllabus. And in general, if you have a question about the class, it's either going to be answered by the syllabus or by this video, or perhaps both. And if there's a question that you have that isn't answered in this video or in the syllabus, then please contact me. Alright, some information about me. Of course, my name here, Jason Moyer. Phone numbers, my office phone number, and then my cell phone. Because this is a summer class, I will be in my office very rarely over this next summer session. So the best way to reach me is by either email here, moyer.jason@gaston.edu, or by this cell number. And the preferred ways I like to be contacted are either through email or by a text message. That way there's a record of you contacting me and then a record of me replying back. Just calling me is probably not the best way to reach me. And then my office, when I am on campus, is in the Roush building, Roush 216. Right, a basic course description. It will cover a basic study of the structure and the function of the human body, such as organization, homeostasis, cells, tissues, various body systems, and so on. Some learning outcomes. By the end of this course, you'll be able to explain and follow the steps of the scientific method, be able to explain the levels of biological organization, the various components of the cell, what they do, some basic features and functions of some various body systems. The credits, hours, and prereqs. This is a 3-credit hour class. This is only a lecture format. There's no lab component to this course. Materials that you need. First, a textbook, Essentials of Human Anatomy and Physiology, the 11th edition by Elaine Marieb. The bookstore may have this listed as the 12th edition, but I received an email from the publisher very recently that the 12th edition will not be fully functional for an online course until the fall. So that obviously will impact us. So we will be using the 11th edition of the textbook. Now, if you've already purchased the 12th edition and you aren't sure what you should do, please contact me and let me know. And then the online software, the Modified Mastering A&P from Pearson Higher Education. We'll talk more about this here in a second. But every assignment in this course, except for the very first one, is done through Modified Mastering A&P, so you absolutely have to have access to this software. Alright, next talk about how the course is graded. There'll be a total of 2,000 points possible. We will cover 8 chapters, so there'll be a chapter quiz for each one. So at 75 points each, that'll be a total of 600 for that group. There'll be study modules that go with each chapter also. So at 50 points each, those are worth 400 total points. The midterm exam and final exam are worth 250 points each. There's a project called the General Education Outcome Project, or the GEO project. I'll be posting more information about this in the next few weeks. But this is an assignment that is mandatory for this type of class. And the way it'll work is I will post information about this probably in mid-June. It will be available to take starting in July, and you have from July until the end of the semester to finish. So basically, you have a whole month to complete this project. And it won't take long, but it is a mandatory requirement of the course. So that's worth 300 points. And then the initial assignment that's due the very first week is what's called the Discussion Board Icebreaker. And that's worth 200 points. So here is our grading scale based on a 2,000 point possible total. An A would be 1,800 points and higher. B, 1,600 points to 1,799, and so on. Now some key things to remember, and the first one in particular, the Discussion Board Icebreaker. This must be completed by Friday, May 26th, before midnight. If you fail to complete this assignment, you will be removed from the course. So all this is, you go to the discussion board, which I will show you where that is here in a few minutes, and you will just briefly introduce yourself to the class. Now, this is an assignment that is mandatory for any online class. So all you'll do is tell me what your name is, where you're from, why you're taking the class, and any concerns you may have about taking an online class or an anatomy class in general. So I don't need a 10-page novel or anything, but just something 3 to 4 sentences just about you and about your reasons for taking the class. So every week you will have a chapter quiz and a study module that are due, and I will keep the same schedule every single week except for one, the week of July 4th, where the college is closed. When it comes to the chapter quizzes, they'll be made available on Mastering A&P just after midnight on Fridays. So basically late Thursday night, early morning Fridays. So at 12:01 a.m. every Friday, a quiz will be made available. And it will remain open until Sunday at 11:59 p.m. So you have all day Friday, all day Saturday, all day Sunday to take that chapter quiz. After that deadline passes, the quiz will shut down and it will go away, and you won't have any access to it at all. So any questions that are not answered at that point will be marked as wrong. So when I say these are due by Sunday at 11:59 p.m., that doesn't mean start it at 11:59 p.m. That means it must be finished and submitted by that time. So there really is no excuse, because you'll have the full schedule of when every assignment is due for the entire course, and we'll go over that schedule here in a few minutes. When it comes to these study modules, they are due by Friday of each week by 11:59 p.m. But they are available for the entire course. So let's say we are at the end of June and you want to go back and review something from Chapter 3, for example. The modules will be there for the entirety of the course, but for each week's assignment is due before midnight on Friday. The 2 days to remember for this course are Fridays and Sundays. Study modules are due by Friday nights. Quizzes are due by Sunday nights. And if you do them earlier, that's fine, but the latest they are due by are Friday nights and by Sunday nights. You must complete at least one assignment each week to be considered an active participant in the class. If you are not active in a course, then I have the authority to remove you from the course. And in a class like this, when we cover so much information, if you aren't active in a course and you skip study modules and you skip quizzes, you aren't going to do well in the class anyway. So it's very easy to get very behind in a class like this. And the scores for all graded assignments will be posted on My Grades on your Blackboard within 24 hours of their deadline. And here we have the grading scale that is standard for all courses within the Arts and Science Division. They are based on the 10-point grading scale. So an A would be 90% to 100%, B 80 to 89%, so on. So you can see by the breakdown of our grades, the study modules can help your grade out tremendously. One, because they're worth a lot of points, but two, because they help you review the material. So they're not there just to be busy work, they're there to help you retain the information. Going on to students' rights and responsibilities. On the first day of class, The instructor will provide a course syllabus that includes course objectives, grading policies, and classroom policies, which is what we're going over now here in the syllabus. Assignments will be graded with constructive feedback within a timely manner, usually within 2 days. I usually like to post scores within 1 day, just so we can have them available. Students will regularly use text and other course materials stated in the syllabus, and course activities will adhere to course and college outcomes. Now, the instructors have the right to expect the following from you, the students. You will read the syllabus and ask for clarification if needed. You will submit assignments that have been completed independently and on time, and you will obtain and use all required text and course materials. And like I mentioned before, if you have a question about the class, it's very likely that's going to be either here in the syllabus or covered in this video, or probably both. But if you still aren't sure about something, always ask. All right, our next one, SPSP, the Student Persistence and Success Plan. So as your instructor, I'm committed to helping you do the best that you can in this class. So if there are any issues that come up that are preventing you from doing as well as you think you could in the class, then please let me know. Whether it be you may need an accommodation for taking the chapter quizzes, there may be a urgent financial need to get the software or to get the textbook, or both. And if that's the case, then you should contact the Office of Persistence and Retention. And there's their office number and their phone number here. All right, move on to participation policy. The first part is the general college policy. And the general rule from the college is you must participate at least 90% or in a class to be successful. And when it comes to our individual class policy, my policy will mirror that of the college. If you are absent more than a total of 9 hours of unexcused absences, then I have the authority to take you out of the course. I don't like to do that, but I will if I have to. Makeup policy. Because we'll go over the complete schedule of the entire course here in a few minutes, there are no makeups and there is no extra credit. So simply because you forgot about a study module or you forgot to take a chapter quiz, well, that's not my responsibility, that's yours. Now, obviously, if something comes up that is an emergency, well, that's completely different. So there's a big difference between an excused absence and an unexcused absence. The course withdrawal procedure. The last day to withdraw from a course for the summer 2017 semester is July 13th, and it is the student's responsibility to withdraw from the course. It's not mine as the instructor. So don't assume that, well, I just won't do any more work. He will recognize that and then he will withdraw me. Well, I may do that, but I may not, because it's not my responsibility. It's yours as a student. You signed up for the class. You are able to withdraw yourself from the class if necessary. And if you aren't sure whether or not you need to stick around in the class, then please talk to me before this deadline. After that deadline, if you are on a roster for a class, you must get a grade, A, B, C, D, or F. If you try to withdraw after that deadline, you automatically get an F. If I try to withdraw you after that deadline, you automatically get an F. So if you aren't sure what to do around this time, please talk to me in advance. Student behavior policies. Any behavior that is disruptive or an issue to other students or the class in general won't be tolerated. Now, this won't be that big of an issue because this is an online course. I don't expect that to be an issue, but it is always a possibility. That's academic dishonesty. Like in every class here at Gaston College, cheating will not be tolerated. And cheating can include any number of things, and they're broken down here by various categories. Falsification, plagiarism, multiple submissions, and so on. And if it is found that you have cheated on either a test or an exam or any kind of assignment, not only are you kicked out of the course, you'll be kicked out of the college. So it really is not worth it to try to cheat on a certain assignment. See, electronic device statements. During a midterm exam or a final exam or chapter quizzes, you're not allowed to use any electronic devices. And because those are online, there'll be a very, very tight time limit to each of those assignments. See the ADA statement, Americans with Disabilities Act. If you feel that you have the need for an accommodation when it comes to the online class or for testing, then you're asked to contact the counseling center to set up an appointment to be evaluated. And I can't give you any extra accommodations without some documentation or approval from the college. The academic complaints. If you have any issues about the course material or the course or me, hopefully none of those, but just in case you do, here are ways to contact my bosses. The chair of the Math and Science Department, Dr. Armstrong, her office location, her phone number, her email. Then her boss, the Dean of Arts and Sciences, Dr. Woodson, her office, her phone number, her email. Alright, our course schedule. Like I said, there will be 8 chapter quizzes. Chapter 1, the human body and orientation. Chapter 3, cells and tissues. Chapter 5, the skeletal system. And then Chapter 7, the nervous system. Then we'll have our midterm exam. The midterm will cover everything we've covered up to that point. So it'll cover those 4 chapters. And as we get closer to that deadline, I will give you more information about the midterm. Then after that, we'll go to chapter number 9, the endocrine system. Chapter 11, cardiovascular system. Chapter 13, respiratory system. And then chapter 16, reproductive system. Then our final exam. Now, our final exam will cover everything from the midterm on. So it is not cumulative. It will cover these last 4 chapters. So chapters 9, 11, 13, and 16. So you can think of the final exam as really another midterm, but at the end of the course. And then as I get more information about when I can make the final exam available, I will post that information on Blackboard and email that out to everyone in the class. Now the very last page is the signature page. So even though we just kind of hit the high points of the syllabus, I would like you to go back and read in more detail, because this is a contract for the class. So by signing this document, you are agreeing to all the policies within the syllabus. You can't come back later and say, well, I didn't know that you couldn't drop the midterm exam, or I thought you would drop the lowest chapter quiz score, because that's not listed anywhere in the syllabus. So take the time to read through this. And when it comes to this page, there are 2 ways you can handle this. You can either print this out, print your name here, sign it, and scan it, and email that scanned image to me, or what would be probably the most preferred way is just to email me directly and just say in one line, I, John Smith, have read and understand and agree to abide by all the statements in the syllabus. So basically take the statement and rewrite it with your full name. So I can't issue a grade for you in this class until I get some acknowledgement that you have read the syllabus. So go ahead and do this first week or so, because otherwise the longer you wait, the more likely you are to forget that you have to do that. Alright, so that will cover basically how the course will be organized and how the course will run. So going back to Blackboard, our course schedule will be here. This has every assignment that you'll need for the entire course. So there is no excuse to say, well, I didn't know that such and such was due on this date. Everything you need is right here. So starting with the first week. The first week will be relatively busy because you have the Icebreaker that's due on the 26th before 11:59. Also, the Chapter 1 study module is due by this Friday, the 26th, also 11:59. And Chapter 1 quiz on the 28th. And everything is the same schedule. Study modules are due by Friday nights at the latest, and chapter quizzes are due by Sunday nights at the latest. A midterm exam, it will be posted a few days before this, but it is due no later than June 25th. The one week that we don't have anything on Friday will be the week of the 4th of July. The campus is closed on July 4th, and then there's a student break the days just before and just after that. I'm not going to have an assignment due on the same day that the college are in the middle of a break. And then the Geo project and final exam, both of those are due by August 2nd. The Geo project you'll have about a month to complete, and the final exam that will be available a few days before this deadline, but it's due no later than August 2nd. And all of these except one will be performed on the modified Mastering A&P software, which we'll talk about in more detail here in a second. So the only one that you would do directly from Blackboard on its own is the discussion board Icebreaker. Grading policy. This is exactly the same text that's taken from the syllabus. It's just more isolated, just on one page. So exactly the same text. And the breakdown of all the different categories that we have: chapter quizzes, study modules, midterm and final exam, the Geo project, and the Icebreaker. So this text is no different than what's found in the syllabus. The same is true for participation policy. Exactly the same text is taken right from the syllabus, just more isolated with its own link. So there's no difference here in the wording between what you see on this page and from the syllabus. Here is a link that will give you more information on using Mastering A&P. Going on to faculty information. Again, this information is taken right from the syllabus. My email, office phone number, and then my cell phone. And of course, I prefer to be contacted by either text or by email. And some basic bio-info about me. We'll come back to Mastering A&P here in a second. But I did want to go over a few more links here. I see lecture notes. They all will be listed here, and they'll be grouped by either 2 or 3 chapters at a time. So for every chapter, in addition to the study modules that you'll get from the software, you will get the same lecture notes that I would give a regular seated class in the fall or in the spring. And in addition to the lecture notes, I also will post lecture videos. And these will be grouped together just like the lecture notes are. And what these are recordings of a standard lecture that I would give a regular seated class. Because I know for some people, they're able to read lecture notes and be fine with information, but for other people, they need to have it presented to them and explained like a normal lecture, which is why I have both available. And it doesn't matter to me how you choose to get the information. If you just want to watch the videos, that's fine. If you just want to watch or read the lecture notes, that's fine. If you want to do both, that's fine. It's completely up to you what works best for you. But both lecture notes and videos will be available for every chapter in this course here. Discussion board. For here, I have it broken down by various threads. The first one, the Icebreaker. This is where you'll do your Icebreaker assignment, the one that is due by Friday the 26th. And that's where you will include your name, where you're from, why you're taking the class, and any concerns you may have about the class. If you have general class questions, so make sure that you post any kind of general question here. And from there on, every chapter has its own thread. So if you have a question about a particular chapter, make sure that you post it within that chapter's thread. So if you have a question about chapter number 13, make sure you put it in chapter 13, not in number 9 or chapter number 7. And I will be checking this discussion board several times a day throughout our course. So if you have questions, you might want to check the discussion board first. And if it's not answered there, then you can contact me directly. Our information about the GEO project will be posted here. I will post that probably at the end of June. Now, easily, where you'll spend the bulk of your time for this class will be here, Mastering A&P. And remember, mine will look a little bit different than yours since I'm the instructor, but this is in general what you'll see when you get to Mastering A&P. And before we get into this information, there is some common issues that come up when people try to access Mastering A&P, and we'll talk about those first. Alright, first of all, Mastering A&P is required for this course. Now, every study module is done through Mastering A&P. Every chapter quiz is done through Mastering A&P. Your midterm and your final are all based from Mastering A&P. So you must have an access, or you must be able to log in and use that software correctly. Because if you don't, you're not going to do well in the course. Secondly, you will need an access code to log in and to use Mastering A&P. Now, students fall into one of 3 categories typically when it comes to this software. 1, you bought a brand new textbook from the bookstore on campus and it has the access code with it. Or you bought a new textbook from the bookstore and it doesn't have the access code. Or 3, you have either rented the book or you bought the book from someplace other than our bookstore. Kindle, Amazon, so on. So we'll go over what you need to do in each of these situations. Alright, first, if you bought the new textbook from our bookstore and it has access code, then you are fine. You don't need to do anything. Just make sure that you're able to log in to Mastering A&P, but you log in from Blackboard. Do not go through the publisher's website. Log in from Blackboard, because all you need is the access code that's given to you within the book. If you don't log in from Blackboard directly, I won't see that you have completed the work. And if I don't see that you've done it, then I'm going to assume that you didn't, and you'll get a 0. Alright, second, this is the one that's the most involved. If you bought a brand new textbook from the bookstore and it doesn't have the access code, you can return it for one that does have the code. But you must have the receipt in order to exchange the books, because you cannot exchange the books without one. If you bought the book using your financial aid, your receipt can be looked up through a database, even if you don't have your paper receipt. Make sure that when you're getting the new book, that it says Modified Mastering A&P. If it doesn't have the word modified in it, then you're getting something different. So you must be using Modified Mastering A&P. If you don't have the receipt, then you must buy an access code from the publisher directly. And there's no way I can get around that. But if you use financial aid to buy it, your receipt can be looked up. But if you pay it out of pocket, or if you can't find a receipt, you have to purchase it from the publisher directly. And scenario number 3, you either rented the book or you bought it from somewhere else other than the Gaston College bookstore, then you must buy the access code from the publisher. And there are 2 formats you can buy it in. One comes with an electronic textbook, and one doesn't. It depends on what you want. The one that has a textbook is a little more expensive. than the one that doesn't, but of course you're getting more information and more resources. Alright, so now we've covered the issues that come up with mastering A&P. Now we'll get into how it looks when you log in and what everything does. Alright, there are a few things I did want to point out here. Let's see, first off, mastering assignments. If you click on that, you'll be taken directly to our courses page from the Mastering A&P, and this is what you'll see. And there are two ways to look at your assignments. You can look at it in a calendar view like this, or in a list view like this. And you can separate it by the title, the category, the due date. As you can see, every assignment has a different kind of color depending on the category. The ones that are this peach color here are the study modules, and the ones that are the Carolina blue color are the quizzes. If you hover over each one, you get more information about that assignment. Like for example, this first one, Chapter 1, the Human Body, a Orientation Dynamic Study Module. That's the study module for Chapter 1. The date that is listed on the calendar shows you when it is due by. So it says here, due Friday, May 26th, 2017, at 11:59 p.m. It's available throughout the entire semester, but this assignment is due by Friday the 26th. If you look at, say, our first chapter quiz, as you can see at the time of me recording this, it is unavailable to students because I don't want to post it too early, but it will be made available Friday, May 26th at 12:01 a.m. and it is due Sunday, May 28th at 11:59 p.m. After that deadline, the quiz will go away and you cannot take it after that. So just get in the habit of making sure things are turned in by Friday night, the modules, and by Sunday nights, the quizzes, at the latest. And this one is highlighted here. It's listed as an assignment, but it's not really an assignment. It's a way to get a feel for how the software works. If you've never used this product or if you've never had an online class before, it's a good tutorial on how to use all the features, how to take quizzes, how to move certain items around, how to use the software. So it says it's an assignment, but it is not an assignment. It's just a tutorial. So the sooner you are familiar with it, the better for you. So you have two places where you can have a complete list of every assignment in this course. The course schedule, under course information, and also on here. The only assignment that's not listed here will be the discussion board Icebreaker. And I can't really put it here because it's not a mastering assignment. So there is absolutely no excuse for you to say I didn't know when something was due, because it's listed in multiple places. So when it comes to completing a study module, completing a chapter quiz, completing an exam, or anything from Mastering A&P, this is where you will go to complete those. The e-text, if you click here, this goes to an electronic version of the textbook, and depending on what type of access you want to use, if you choose to use the electronic textbook, it's no different than the regular hard copy textbook. It's just an electronic form. So some people may prefer to have the actual book in front of them. Others may want the electronic version. It really is just a personal preference on what you would like to use. So again, that's the cover of our book, the 11th edition, and you can search by individual chapters, and then from there various subsections of each chapter. So exactly the same thing as our physical textbook, but online. Alright, another area I'd like to show you, the study area. From here, there are some other resources you could use to help practice a material. Click up here. You go to each individual chapter. So let's say you want to go to chapter number 7. Click the chapter you need and hit go. There's a reading quiz you could take, some flashcards there, a glossary that's there, a practice test. These are not assignments. These are options in case you want more practice with the material. It's here. The link to some other tools here, including some anatomy animations that are used here. Alright, that will bring us to the end of this introductory video. Some key things to remember. This first week, you have 3 things that are due. You have the Icebreaker discussion board post and the Chapter 1 study module. Both of those are due by Friday the 26th before midnight. Then you have your Chapter 1 quiz, which is due by Sunday, May 28th before midnight. So what I would really recommend doing is trying to log in and access Mastering A&P as soon as you possibly can, because so many assignments are due through that software. So if you can't access it, then you can't submit those. So make sure that at the very least you're able to log in correctly. And if you have a question either with Mastering A&P, with the course in general, please contact me. That's what we're here for as instructors. So either email me directly or send me a text directly. I look forward to teaching you the next 8 weeks. And again, if you have questions, always feel free to contact me. And good luck in the course.